Welcome back to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest has lived through more chaos than most could imagine, yet she still shows up every shift with a heart for service and a drive to make a difference. Maisi is an EMT from the Vermont, New Hampshire area with a powerful story of survival, resilience, and purpose. From growing up in a home filled with instability to finding her calling after watching her grandmother be airlifted to the hospital, Maisi has faced trauma head on, both in her personal life and in the field. She's battled toxic relationships, fought through depression and anxiety, and pushed past the barriers of being a woman in a male dominated space. But now she's thriving, earning dual degrees in EMS and psychology, and setting her sights on becoming a flight nurse. This conversation dives deep into trauma, healing, and what it really means to serve others when you're still learning to show up for yourself. Grab your headphones. This one's raw, real, and incredibly inspiring. Let's jump in.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest is we have Maisi. She is in fire and EMS, and we would like to welcome Maisi to our podcast. So give her a warm welcome. How's it going, Maisi?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Uh, Today's a busy day. I had an interview earlier this morning, and he was a Marine veteran. He's doing a lot of good things. And also, after I'm done with this interview, I had a guest. I don't know if you listened to Anthony's podcast that we had on here. He's from South Carolina. He was a volunteer firefighter. He came up here to visit us. So they are here today. And when I'm done with this interview, we're going to meet up and probably do it live together.
That's awesome. I'll make sure that I pop in.
Yeah. It might be on his program. It won't be on ours. So
I will either have to find it or you can share the link with me on TikTok and I'll pop in.
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, Anthony's a good guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was the one that had to find the kids in the pond and fish them out, and he was in that building that exploded, the meth lab that exploded and blew him and his partner basically in two different rooms.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He pretty much lost his teeth, and he always joked that they made him look like a meth addict because he lost all of his teeth. But fortunately, he got surgery. He's got teeth now.
That's good. That's good.
So, all right. So let's get into your background a little bit, and let's start with your origin story. What was your young Maisi life like, and how did you first get interested in public service?
So I will start out by saying this is that some of my childhood I do not remember. My brain has basically subconsciously blocked some of what's happened to me. So even my parents or anyone in my family will make comments about, hey, remember this or remember when that happened? I'm like, no, I don't. So my parents split up when I was very young. I want to say I was probably 4 years old, maybe 5, somewhere in there. I don't have a lot of memories from back then. I have one that distinctly sticks out, and it was, I woke up on Christmas morning and there was little dinosaurs all over the windowsills and a giant blow up Scooby-Doo in our living room. But besides that, I don't really remember too much until I have some memories from school. Um, all throughout school, I was bullied a lot, especially really severely in middle school. I could do so much as straighten my hair, and I would get called very vulgar names for it, even by people that I thought I was friends with. Um, and then on the family side of things, my parents split up, like I said, when I was very, very young. My parents never got along. Um, so eventually they ended up having to have a parenting plan because they could never decide on when I was going to go where they were going to meet. Little things like that, that they were always nitpicking and fighting about. Um, and even once the parenting plan got written, I want to say it was in middle school, probably seventh or eighth grade, possibly sixth. I don't 100% remember exactly when that was. There was even a stipulation within that parenting plan that no parent or anyone involved with a parent is to talk bad about the other's family around me.
Right.
Um, I want to say when I was 5 or 6, my mom met my brother's father, who was an abusive alcoholic. My mom had primary custody of me. Custody was split 50-50 between my parents. So when I was living with my mom, I was living with my brother's father. Um, and that is another time period that it's really hard for me to remember. I do remember multiple instances of, he was very severely intoxicated, and when he would get intoxicated, he would get mean. I have a brother who is almost exactly 10 years younger than I am, and I remember taking my brother from his room or wherever he was and running downstairs to my bedroom, because my bedroom was in the basement, and hiding in a closet while this was going on. And I remember always having the fear that eventually maybe we would be left without a mother because of his father. Um, and that alone, like that scared little 10-year-old, 11-year-old Maisi for
Yeah.
so long, for years. There was even a time, and I don't remember this, my mom has told me this story multiple times. I guess there was an instance where I had finally had enough, and I was a little bit older. I was probably 13, 14. I stepped in between them. I'm not very tall. I never have been. I'm 5'2".
Mhm.
He 6'3", 250 pounds. I stepped in between them to try to get it to stop, but to also defend my mother, um, because I was so afraid that he was going to hit her, and I had had enough. And he went to go put hands on me, and my mom said, "You put hands on her, and the police will be called, and you'll be put in jail." Among some other things, didn't say it that nice.
Mhm.
um, and I grew up with that for a large part of my childhood. Um, when I was reaching high school age, I was 14 as a freshman. My mom sent me to go live with my father because she didn't want me in that environment anymore. Not knowing that the environment at my father's house was going to be any better. She thought it would be better, but she didn't realize that it wouldn't be. Um, my dad met this woman. I had to have been 7, 8 years old, maybe a little bit older. And as a child, things weren't great with her, but they weren't horrible. Um, Reached high school age and things got really, really bad. Um, to the point that, one memory I have is because I was on sports teams, for game days, we would dress up or wear certain things. And this was a day that we decided to dress up.
Mhm.
And I did my makeup. I dressed up because that was the only time that I ever really wore makeup to school. And she made me go wash my face and told me that I looked like a whore.
Oh my gosh.
And that was not the only time that stuff like that happened. Her and I would go at it a lot. Um, it was because of her and her control over me that, to make my dad's life easier, but mine harder. And he just saw it as making his life easier. I had set days and times that I could use my phone, and I was never allowed to bring it to school until my junior year. Um, I also distinctly remember there was a day I got home from school, and she was yelling at me for something. We got into a fight about something. I don't remember what. And, I had already called my dad, and he said, you go in your room, she'll stay upstairs, leave each other alone until I get home. I did what I was told, and she was still yelling at me from the top of the stairs. So when I thought it had stopped, I ran my way upstairs, grabbed the house phone because, again, I wasn't allowed to have my cell phone. I didn't even know where it was when I couldn't use it. Called my dad again, and as I'm calling my dad, she runs down the stairs after me and throws the gate out of my doorway and puts her hands around my neck trying to grab the phone.
Mm.
Um, I had marks around my neck. Thankfully, I didn't lose consciousness. It wasn't anything bad enough to call 911, but my dad dismissed it and told me not to worry about it, to forget it, like it happened type of thing. Like there was no repercussion, no I'm sorry, no nothing from this. Instead it was I assaulted her because I pushed her off of me. Mind you, this is not a small woman either. She's 5'11". Again,
Yeah,
I'm
you're small.
5'2".
You're tiny compared to her.
I'm very tiny. And it was stuff like that I dealt with for a very, very long time with her all throughout my high school career. And during that time period, in my middle school time period, I was put on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds and diagnosed with both. And I remember hiding the medication because I was so afraid of what my dad and her would say about it and say to me. I found out one day while we were on vacation that she went through my bag and found them and flipped out. She also found my birth control, which I was put on for medical reasons, also flipped out. Dad flipped out, wasn't listening to me, called my doctor. From what I was told, I don't know if this is true. I didn't witness this. My mom told me that he called my doctor and started asking questions because he didn't believe me that it was for medical purposes. I was like 13, 14 at this time. Um, so I grew up with that through my childhood, and a lot of because her abuse and things that I went through, I also developed an eating disorder. I had anorexia for a long time because of her and things that I experienced throughout my middle school career. I graduated high school in 2017. At this point, I was living with my mom for the last half of my senior year and commuting almost an hour to go to high school because I didn't want to change schools in the middle of my senior year. And the school was gracious enough to grant me that. What sparked me living with my mom for the last half of my senior year was I got concussed in gym class, ironically, and then got second hit syndrome while I was home healing from this concussion. And my dad tried to go after my mom for kidnapping.
Mm.
And state police showed up at my mom's front door. Town police stayed up at my mom's front door. We were brought down to the police station. And this was ongoing for a couple days. Just because my dad couldn't accept that my doctor did not want me in that house while healing from a concussion because she was afraid that I A, wouldn't heal well, or B, that something would happen again where hands were put on me.
Yeah.
It was also at the same time that my dad basically said F you and signed over all of his rights to me as a 17-year-old. We went back and forth for days saying, well, if you're going to live with your mom, fill out a new parenting plan. So I did that. I did it myself. I was in school when they went to court to file this new parenting plan, and my dad showed up with basically a parenting plan that my mom had primary sole custody of me and he had no rights. So it was after that I lived with my mom for a while. I didn't talk to my dad, didn't talk to my stepmom for months. And I want to say it was probably close to a year. And the only reason my dad and I started talking again is because he still had my childhood cat, and my childhood cat had to be put down.
Gosh.
My mom and I again started butting heads, and I went to go live with my grandparents. It's something that my grandmother had always wanted me to do, and the opening was there, so I took it. While living at my grandparents', I witnessed my grandmother have a heart attack right in front of me, and I could not do anything. I've never felt so helpless before, and I had no idea what was going on. I was Googling what was going on. I called my grandfather. My grandfather came home. Thankfully, he worked right down the road, and he called 911. And I remember one ambulance showed up. It was two members of brass, so like lieutenant, captain, deputy chief. I don't know exactly who they are to this day. I wish I did.
Yep.
They're like, we're just EMTs. We can't do much. The paramedics will be here soon, but we're going to start care. And they know more than got her in the ambulance. And of course, now, like, I understand what was going on being an EMS. But at the time, I didn't. And I was just standing there and had no idea what was going on. They put her on the monitor, did a 12 lead, and she was having a massive heart attack. And I mean, absolutely massive. Paramedics showed up, confirmed it, started transport to the hospital. And at the time, I didn't know this is what happened or how any of this worked again. Scared little 19, 20-year-old. And they didn't even go into the hospital that they transported her to. They met the helicopter and she was life flighted to the hospital at the cath lab where she got 2 stents placed.
Oh my gosh.
And then she had a heart attack a month after that. I don't remember if she got another stent from that or just cleaned out, but they told her that it was probably going to happen again. They just didn't expect it to happen in a month. Thankfully, I did not witness that. Unfortunately, she was at work when that happened. So going through all of that, I realized that I wanted to do something bigger. And originally, I did go to school for a semester. After high school, I went to college for a semester and wanted to be a lawyer. At the time, I still wanted to be a lawyer, but I had dropped out due to some personal things and needing to heal mentally and emotionally from some stuff. And was like, you know what? I want to be a cop. I don't know how I went from witnessing this to being like, oh, I want to be a cop. So I signed up to do a ride along. I ended up riding along with this town's corporal, and I had so much fun, learned so much, and something just clicked of, oh, this is what I want to do. Around that same time, I decided to move back with my dad. We were on talking terms at this point. This was years after I graduated. It was probably a year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there,
Mhm.
and moved back in with my dad because at the time I wanted to be a cop, and I was like, oh, it'll be easier for me to go through the New Hampshire Police Academy versus Vermont, and it's just like I have more of a support system on this side of the river. And then I heard that, hey, cops get paid more up here with their EMT. Sorry.
Okay.
So it's like, okay. One of my friends convinced me to join his volunteer fire department, so I did. I was very open and honest with them that I was there to gain medical knowledge, medical experience, EMS experience, and to get my EMT, and because I knew that they could pay for it. Within 2 months of me being on this department, they sent me through an EMT course, which ended up being in the middle of COVID. So it was a quote hybrid course, but some of us that lived close enough or felt safe enough could go in and participate in class, but class was sitting in front of a monitor and them reading off a presentation. I ended up getting COVID in the middle of my course due to doing my clinical time. And I missed one of the hands-on Saturdays that we had, which was only like, I think one of 2 or 3. So it was pretty detrimental for me to miss this.
Yeah.
While going through the course and still being active on the fire department because I was doing fire stuff with them too, I realized I had more of a love for fire and EMS than I did on the law enforcement side of things. Especially with just how bad things got during COVID and just seeing medicine work in front of me and being able to be like, oh, I can really make a difference. And from there, they sent me through the fire academy. I ended up paying for the second half of my fire academy because of some issues I had with this department, but I was determined to still get my fire one up too.
Yeah.
Ended up going through the fire academy, finished the fire academy, went back and tested for my EMT, and I passed. So I was officially a firefighter EMT and ended up getting my A probably 6 to 8 months after that and becoming an advanced EMT. And I'm here now. I have 2 jobs. I have been full-time fire, but I left due to lack of pay. I wasn't making a livable wage. I loved the job and I could finally say like, oh, I made it because I was a career firefighter.
Right.
I ended up doing some emergency department work and then realized how much I missed being on the truck full time. So I got a full time EMS job and I still do per diem shifts at my previous full time fire department.
So you've been busy.
Very busy. And I'm also a full time college student.
And
I,
what are you
uh,
studying right now?
so one of my majors is emergency management, and then the other one is EMS with a minor in psychology.
Okay. It's quite the workload.
So the way that my school kind of divvies up their semesters is they're broken up into quarters. So each class is 8 weeks. I have been a full-time college student for the last 3 years. I am a senior. Finally, I am so close. I can see the finish line. And I actually took my advanced EMT the first year I was in school getting my gen eds done, and I was actually in person. That was a lot. Um, I am all online now, and it can be a lot with harder classes, especially a lot of my senior classes. Like suddenly the workload got kicked up a notch unexpectedly. Like I knew it was going to be tougher, but there was a huge jump between senior and junior level classes that I've taken. So every 8 weeks we finish courses and start new ones. I do not have a break. I continue through the summer to
Okay.
get all of this done sooner because realistically, being the double major that I am, I would be probably looking at closer to 5 years, and I really don't want to extend it to 5 years. Um, so a
Not
lot of
too long.
it's been a lot of give and take with work too. My full-time job, we do 24 on, 48 off, 24 on, 96 off. So 1 on, 2 off, 1 on, 4 off. So
Wow.
it makes it a little bit easier to manage the school load. I do pick up overtime, and then my per diem fire department, I can fill full-time slots the way that their contract is written because I have all of the certifications to fill that and the training. So I'll get a text message if I'm off, and my deputy chief will be like, "Hey, can you pick up this shift?" If I'm off, I usually pick it up, but they do only have a minimum of 12 hours a month. So thankfully, if I'm busy with school or busy with overtime at my full-time job, I don't have a huge commitment to them, but I do try to do more because I do miss being full-time fire and I do enjoy fire. It's not something that I'm like, I just do it to do it. No, I love the job. Um, so yeah, my life can be pretty busy sometimes between all three things, but I enjoy it. At
Okay.
the end of the day, it'll be worth it. I do eventually want to go back to being full-time fire, but my absolute end goal is to be a flight nurse paramedic.
That is definitely a feat. And we hope you achieve that goal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm pretty sure you will. You're going to kill it.
Thank you.
We had a guest on here that was aspiring to be a flight medic, and you probably know Redbeard the medic.
Yes.
Okay, he's now a flight medic.
Yes, he is.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Just following him and watching his progression. That was awesome.
I have a ways to go. I think I'm going to take a year off from school once I finish my bachelor degrees. I don't really want to, but I think for the sake of mental health and burnout, I need to force myself to take a year off because as it is right now, I'm already so burnt out and so like mentally tired and just want to
Yeah.
like give up and stop. Like I have senioritis again, but like times 10. So I think for the sake of my own mental health and well-being, taking a year off before going into paramedic school will probably do me a lot of good.
Right. Kind of give your mind a chance to rest and regroup.
Absolutely. I mean, realistically, I've been going nonstop since COVID between my EMT, my Fire 1, my Fire 2, and my advanced, and then starting college as well.
Right.
It's it's been a ways.
Yeah, it's been quite a ways. I mean, you've gone from traumatic childhood to going through all of this stress of going through schools and getting in departments and
Yeah.
obviously doing your runs and your calls and stuff like that. It's got to be a lot. take
It
on.
absolutely can be. I mean, probably 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I was on a 48-hour shift. I don't remember how many trucks we have. We had these shifts, but we do have multiple trucks. We either had 3 or 4, and we ran 46 calls in a 48-hour time period.
Wow, that's almost one every hour.
It was insane. We were nonstop, back to back to back to back. We were out straight. It was arguably the busiest shift I have ever worked.
How did you even manage?
A lot of caffeine and a lot of like 10-15 minute cat naps or sleeping in the back of a truck after a call because it didn't stop during the night. The majority of the calls kicked off actually during the night of my first one, kind of like probably around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then just continued. It was a lot.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I couldn't even imagine just one after the other.
I don't want to do it again anytime soon.
Well, if hell froze over, it froze over for you right there.
The EMS gods were like, "Hey, do you want to see us do something?"
Yeah.
No,
Check this out.
please don't. Not again.
Watch this.
Yeah. You wanted to be busy. Here you go. No, this is
Right.
not what I meant.
Yeah. Not one every hour, please.
No. Make it stop.
So, when talking about your mental health and the abuse and healing, you experience a toxic family dynamic and abuse relationship. Um, how did those experiences affect your mental health and while working with your high stress job?
I think at the end of the day, having gone through a lot of those hard situations as a child, um, I know that it had a very, very large impact on my mental health. Um, I actually was on 3 antidepressant and anti-anxiety meds at a time because I had maxed out the dosage of one, was put on like an additive additional type of aid, is how I would best explain it. And then
Mhm.
they put me on a third med. I was not doing great mentally. And that kind of also only got worse because around that same time was when I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disease at 19. Um, which put me into a darker hole.
Mhm.
Um, but I think having gone through all of that and getting through all of it successfully and seeing where I am now, it has helped me realize that I can get through a lot of things that I may not think at the time that I can. But it has also given me a lot of compassion and empathy towards certain situations that I might encounter, whether it's my own with patients, with my own family, with my friends. Um, and it has taught me a lot of good coping tools, especially being able to not shut off my emotions, but if I'm going through something, putting that in the back of my mind so I can be in provider mode or firefighter mode and not have to have that at the forefront to be able to solely focus on the job that I am there to do,
Mhm.
which definitely can be challenging, but it is a skill that I am grateful that I have developed over the years. And I think a lot of that is definitely accredited to how much I went through as a child.
Right. Now, with your job, do you ever have any concerns with having an autoimmune deficiency or any issues like that?
So, my particular autoimmune disease, I have actually had one instance where it affected me on the job. Um, I I've known the risks since I was diagnosed. I've done my research. I've talked to my doctors. I am closely monitored by my doctors now. Um, but so we went to go do ice rescue training, middle of winter, New England winter. It's cold, it's windy. We're on a frozen lake. It's going to be even windier and even colder.
Right.
I dressed for it. Not only did I have, you know, thermal like underlayers on, I had thermal tights on. I had leggings on, I had my EMS pants on, I had wool socks on, I had a long like an Under Armour long sleeve thermal layer on underneath. I had my my job shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt, and a winter jacket, hat, gloves, the whole nines. I got hypothermic because my feet got cold, which my autoimmune disease makes me cold intolerant.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize how bad it was until we got back to the station and I had brought a roll of hose up a flight of stairs and I had my watch on and I felt like crap. And then I got a notification on my watch that was like high heart rate. And I'm like, that kind of explains like why I'm feeling so weird, but like this isn't normal. And my heart rate was at 160 and I was having palpitations. So I went back downstairs, went to my best friend who's the lieutenant at the time, and I tapped on his shoulder so he would turn around and I was like, I don't feel good. And he was like, you look like shit. I was like, gee, thanks, but I don't feel good. Um, did vitals. I was in an arrhythmia and my blood pressure was crap over crap.
Right.
Now, anyone who knows me knows that I do not like going to the hospital. I am one of the worst patients. I hate going to the hospital. I hate going to the doctors, which is really ironic because I have to go like every 6 months anyway. And he's like, either you sit down. He threw hot packs and a wool blanket at me and was like, don't move. Or we were a first response because we were a volunteer fire department. We
Yeah.
had a contracted ambulance that stayed in our station. So he was like, you sit down, don't move until I say so, or I will be going upstairs and getting the paramedics and you'll be going to the hospital. I said, okay. So I didn't move for like 2 hours until I felt okay-ish. So yeah, that's like the only like hard instance that I've had. Sometimes it does worry me because now I'm having some other complications that my doctors are looking at and monitoring. But I have not ran into another situation like that where I've truly worried about my health and the impact that not only it could have on me, but the person I'm working with. It's never once been, I'm on a fire scene going interior and I'm worried about myself because of my health and my partner. I would, if I did, I definitely would say something and I wouldn't put my guys in harm's way because it's not fair to them. I care more about them than I do myself, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But thankfully, not since then have I ran into anything too bad. I was recently diagnosed with anemia as well, which is not surprising to me given things that I was exhibiting and how my autoimmune disease was kind of flared up, for lack of a better term, or exacerbated. But even that, I mean, for me, it was mostly being tired and lots of random bruises that have randomly appeared. Um, but especially the being tired all the time thing. But that's so well now managed with what my doctor's doing that even now I don't really worry about it. I do like keep an extra eye on myself if I'm not feeling okay or for whatever reason I forget to take my meds. Um, but thankfully not since then have I really ever had to worry about anything else. I think that one instance has made me be more in tune with how I'm feeling and how my body feels. And if
Yeah.
I feel a little off, to say something.
Right. That's pretty good. At least you can see it, you notice it, and if it happens, you can address it.
It kind of, an instance like that kind of forces you to stop ignoring what your body's telling you and actually listen to it before you get yourself into deeper water like I did.
Yes.
Because that could have gone south very, very quickly.
Very fast, and there may have not been any coming back from it.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing that you can see that now.
I think that I don't want to say I was naive, but I think I was a little bit stupid in the fact of, oh, I'm fine. Because we all do it. We all like, oh, I'm fine when we know ourselves we're really not. And I tried convincing myself so much that nothing was wrong that I really was fine. And then I really wasn't until it was almost too late. And I think that has forced me to be really a lot more in tune with something's not right. I don't feel good. What is it? Can I fix it and why?
Right.
And being able to speak up about it.
Yeah, stop being so stubborn.
Oops.
My bad.
I can't say it won't happen again, but
If it does, I'm gonna smack your hand. Gonna
noted.
put your hand out and slap your hand for you. You got to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Uh, were there any moments when you felt like giving up, or did you just want to keep going?
It was a little bit of both. I think everyone at some point struggles, especially in the fire academy, with a lot of the physical aspects of it. Um, Me being very, very small, I only weigh 130 pounds. I'm actually very small. So I was struggling a lot with certain things through the fire academy. A lot of it was learning how to utilize my body mechanics to aid me, but also be able to appropriately and efficiently do the same skills that other people weren't struggling with. And thankfully, I had a lot of people help me being like, oh, try this instead. Like that maybe this will work better for you. So it was definitely learning how to use my own body to aid me rather than trying to fight against it because I was seeing so many people, because I think we only had 4 females in my fire academy class through Fire One.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing a lot of the guys be able to easily do something, but me or someone else was struggling with it because we're small. And it wasn't that we couldn't do it, it was learning how to do things in a different way, but still accomplish the same task safely and efficiently. Um, and I think, and I don't want to say like, I think during my EMT course too, because of COVID, and the course wasn't a great course. I think during that, I also really wanted to give up and just say, screw this. Um, Especially because I finished that class, was forced into testing, taking my NR EMT by my fire chief, even though I knew that I wasn't ready. And I failed. And I felt miserable. I felt like I failed him. I felt like I failed the department. But I knew that I wasn't ready, and I made that very clear to him and was forced into it anyway. Um, Went through the fire academy after that one failed attempt, and my 2 years was actually coming up after finishing my course. And I don't know if you know how much you know about EMT courses and testing or not, but at the end of 2 years, you actually have to go back and repeat the class. You can no longer test. So that was coming up. I hit the books hard for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, went and took my test and passed. But I think definitely that that first feeling of failure and having that first failure was also another time where I really, really wanted to give up. But I think a lot of what kept me going and a lot of where my motivation came from is how much I loved what I was doing and the passion that I had for it. If I didn't have the passion for either fire or EMS, I don't think I would have been able to keep going.
All right. Well, I'm glad you did.
Me too.
You're helping a lot of people, and it's hard on you, and it shows a lot of grit for you.
That's kind of why I do TikTok. Um, because I want, I was that little girl that was obsessed with the fire trucks. Fire Prevention Week, my favorite thing in school. My favorite thing because I got to see the fire trucks. But I had never seen a female. So I think growing up, I moved away from that, even though little me knew that that's what little Maisie wanted to do because of that. And, I've actually gotten DMs and Instagram DMs and TikTok DMs of, hey, can you help me with this? I'm going through this. I don't know how to do it. I'm struggling. And being able to help that person with something either A, I've struggled before, or B, understand the struggle.
Right.
Because, I've gone through something similar or the exact same thing. And that's part of why I do my TikTok, because I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have, anyone to look to or look up to or mentor me through those hard moments.
Yeah. You didn't have that kind of support system or mentorship or nothing like that.
Not at all.
Well, they have you now.
Yes, kind
It's
of.
awesome. It's good for the younger generations to have, somebody that's going to be there for them as either a mentor or somebody who is going to show them a good support system
And
and be
that's,
positive. Yeah.
that's also why like I enjoy teaching my EMS courses that I teach because I do teach EMT courses. I'm a EMS adjunct instructor, and or why I love taking students. Or, we had a fire cadet come in my last shift just wanting to go through the trucks and go over things and how fire and EMS work and how our departments run. I love being that person.
Mhm.
That is my bread and butter. I adore it. And it's because I want to be that mentor and be that person that I didn't have. Because if I had that, I feel like my life would have been easier.
Right. Do you think you would have been a lot further along if you'd had that kind of mentorship?
I don't think I would have been further along, but I do think that I wouldn't have had a lot of the feelings of negativity that
Okay.
I did, and I think I would have been able to cope with things better.
I see. That's fair enough. I mean, obviously you were dealt a hand and you overcame.
Played the hand I was dealt, and I think I did it pretty okay.
I think you rocked it. You killed it. Yeah. And we're definitely proud of you for that.
Thank you.
So, for others who might be in an abusive relationship, especially in this line of work, what would you say to them?
So, ironically, probably a year and a half ago now, I was in an abusive relationship. Um, I still have not talked about exactly what happened in this relationship with anyone.
Okay.
No one really knows exactly what's happened. Eventually, maybe I'll be able to talk about it. Um, I saw my got out, and within 4 months of me getting out, I packed my crap up, got a new job, and moved away.
Yeah.
Um, I think my one piece of advice would wholeheartedly be it gets better.
Yeah.
And you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, you may not see your way out, but there is a way out. It absolutely gets better. You will not have to live with this for X amount of years for the rest of your life. There's people out there that will help you, there's resources out there that will help you. Yes, you have to do the research to find these resources sometimes,
Mhm.
but and it's not easy. Coping and dealing with it after and getting out is not easy, and coming to terms with what's happened to you is definitely not easy, but it'll be worth it. And I think an important thing to remember is you are not your trauma, and you
Right.
are not at fault for what someone else did to you.
Right.
People are evil, people are mean, and you may never know the why someone did something to you either.
It's sad. You didn't deserve that. Um, it's just unfortunate that you had to endure such a thing. I mean, I, were you like codependent in that relationship, or how long did you have to endure that?
So I was with him for a year. I don't want to say I had rose colored glasses on, but things were okay for roughly 4 to 5 months. And then stuff started to go downhill. I don't want to say he never put his hands on me. There was an instance of something really negative and
Mhm.
something really, really bad. Um, but I think a lot of it was too is I definitely have an attachment style where once you come into my life, even if it's friends, family, possible relationship, and I've gotten a lot better with this, but at the time it's very much like, especially if I talk to you every day, my worry and my fear is how am I not going to talk to this person if something happens? It's not like, oh my God, what if I never see them again? What if it's just, what if I can't talk to them again? It's not even codependence. It's literally just, what if I can't talk to them again?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Um, Definitely gotten a lot better at it, but that was my biggest fear, even though he was a narcissistic manipulator.
Yeah.
But my fear, and like I'm also the person that holds on to something until I absolutely cannot. And then he started showing, his own mental health issues, and it kind of scared me a little bit. But once I saw my out, I took my stuff and ran.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you were able to see that and take your chance and run, because you just never know how that situation could have turned out, especially dealing with narcissistic people.
I don't want to say that, I started witnessing and picking up on it all myself. There was definitely things that I picked up on, but one of my absolute best friends looked at me and was like, Maisie, that's not right. That's
Mhm.
not okay. Like, what are you thinking? But it also wasn't until I opened up to him and told him everything. And he literally looked at me and was like, you need to break up with him. Like, this isn't okay. This isn't healthy. This isn't right. And I worked with him at the time. And if we worked a shift together, he'd be like, have you done it yet? Or what else has
Mhm.
happened? So I think having that also helped a lot, because I don't think I would have recognized all of the negative and all of the bad if it wasn't for that. So
Right.
having an outsider's opinion of, hey, that's not okay, especially coming from a traumatic childhood where some of the same stuff happened to me as a child, and to me it's okay because
Yeah.
that's how I grew up, that's what I was exposed to. It's kind of like unlearning unhealthy habits
Right.
that were perceived as normal to me because of my childhood and what happened to me in my childhood.
Right. Well, it's a fortunate thing that you had somebody looking from the outside in, because a lot of times it takes somebody to look from the outside in to see and to expose the things that you can't see.
That's
Because a lot
it,
of times people are blinded.
that's exactly what it was. Um, and I am still friends with him to this day. He is still one of my absolute best friends. Some of my other friends will be like, "Oh yeah, you weren't happy anyway. I could tell her. I witnessed this, and oh yeah, I could tell he was a narcissist." And I'm like, "Why didn't you guys tell me this?"
Yes, why did you say so?
Like, when we were together, we went down to North Carolina and spent time with my family down there. And the way that he was presenting himself made one of my family members so uncomfortable to even talk to me as a family member. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me this when it happened versus after we broke up?
Right.
Because I didn't notice. I didn't see that. I had those rose colored glasses on.
Right.
It's like, speak if you see something like that and you're starting to see that in one of your friends, family, whatever, someone's relationship, speak up, because they may not be seeing it, and that is what got me out of my bad abusive situation.
Right.
And that is one thing that I will drive home is speak up, because that person may not recognize it, may not notice it.
Amen to that. So, for anybody who's listening, take her words of advice.
Please.
Please speak up.
I would have left sooner if people spoke up.
Yeah.
This happened in So that instance with my family happened in September of last year. I didn't get away from him until December.
Yeah.
That's September, October, November, December. That's 4 months that I was still stuck in that situation and also not realizing what was going on in front of me. Had that person spoke up, I could have been gone 3 months prior to December, or
That's a
started
lot of time.
realizing. Yeah.
You never know what could have happened in that time span.
Thankfully, it was also towards the end of it where I was able to really, I don't want to say I pushed him away, but I was able to give myself more distance between him and I. So I felt safer within my own apartment, because I was living in an apartment at the time, um, so that I could end it and run.
Yeah.
Um, Not everyone gets that lucky of being able to put that distance between them and their abuser,
Right. That is true.
unfortunately.
And things don't turn out very well.
Unfortunately.
Right. Uh, so therapy and support systems and coping tools, what's been the most helpful for your healing?
I think so. It's been definitely a mixture of everything. Um, as I've grown up, especially more recently that I've come to terms with a lot of what's happened in my childhood and reflected on what's happened in my childhood and even, my young adult years, my teenage years, throughout my life. Um, Being able to reflect and say, hey, that happened. Let's heal from it. Let's grow from it. Let's learn from it. And being able to recognize that trauma and say, yeah, that was traumatic. That wasn't right, has
Mhm.
helped a lot. And that's ironically, that's how some of like these memories I have started to come back. Um, Granted, sometimes, it sucks because it's like reliving something traumatic for the first time,
Yeah.
but being able to start remembering things that I formerly just had a blank memory of. Um, I am a huge, huge advocate for writing and journaling, whether you just sit down and you're like, I'm feeling this way today, here's why, or spilling your guts on a journal page. Um, the way that, a lot of what's helped me, I am a Christian. When I do my journal, I will start every journal entry off with a Bible verse. And then I will go about spilling my guts on these journal pages. Being able to talk about it and things that have happened to me, things that are happening to me, even just having people check in on me through having my support systems has helped a lot. And especially feeling like, oh, I'm not alone. Someone has my back. Like, I actually have friends now that have my back, that will support me, that aren't going to judge me, that I can talk to freely without judgment.
Yeah.
And I am truly grateful that I've found ways to cope and found things that work for me. Um, because going unhealed is more traumatizing than some of the trauma itself.
Yeah.
You are only doing more damage to yourself, and you're not going to realize it. And I actually, you know, with doing my psych research and stuff for school, I one of the prompts that I had to do that I chose was childhood trauma in first responders. And there's actually not a lot of research on it. There's not a whole lot of studies. There's not enough to draw a positive correlation, but what is out there is proving that there might be a correlation. And the reason for that is, as a child that experiences trauma, your brain does not develop the same way as a child who didn't have experienced that trauma. And because of that, you're often more prone to developing depression, anxiety, PTSD later in adulthood because your brain's wired differently.
Right.
So, not being able to cope appropriately or finding that outlet can be very, very negative for someone that already experienced a traumatic childhood and predispose them to these psychological disorders that now, if they have them, they don't know how to cope, don't know how to deal with it. That can lead to even more damage and even more negative.
I agree with that 100%.
That's why the stigma around mental health and saying, I'm not okay, needs to be positive.
Right.
Admitting that you are not okay is not a negative. And if you're not okay, you need to speak up. People will have your back. There's resources out there. People will support you. No one will look negatively. And if they do, excuse my language, fuck them.
Exactly.
What does their opinion of you not being okay matter to you?
Right. It
If
doesn't.
they're giving you negative feedback or giving you shit for saying you're not okay, what are they to you? What is that someone you really want in your life? Is that someone whose opinion you really want around you? Probably not.
Right.
Speak up, say you're not okay. It
Right.
is okay to not be okay.
Amen to that. And I say that not only from your experiences, but from my own personal experiences.
Absolutely.
So,
There's definitely been some calls that I've had to be like, hey, I'm not okay. And one of them I was actually on shift and had just gotten back and I had to tell my captain that, hey, I'm not okay. Was I
yeah.
met with judgment? Absolutely not. He actually wanted to send me home, but couldn't because if he sent me home, we would be down to only 2 trucks. And that's just not feasible for us. So he kept me at the bottom of the rotation for the night, and my truck was only going to go out unless absolutely needed. Or, I got sent home because I wasn't okay. I was dealing with some stuff in the background. Got sent home by my deputy chief. It wasn't anything negative. It was just, hey, I'm not in the right headspace emotionally and mentally to be a good provider and the provider I want to be.
Yeah.
So he let me go home. And, the amount of text messages I got from my coworkers who I was on shift with asking me if I was okay was so refreshing of saying, hey, I'm not okay, and not being judged and people wanting me to be okay.
Right.
I didn't expect that. I didn't know that was going to be how things were perceived. And I'm so grateful that I spoke up and said that I was not okay because I realized I had a bigger support system and more people wanting me to be okay than I knew about.
Right. Yeah, you'll realize that the more you speak up, the more people will gather around you because obviously they're in the same boat that you are.
Absolutely.
So when you give a safe space for people to come out and say that they're not okay, then you guys are able to come together and lean on each other and give a mutual support. We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
And give a mutual support.
Absolutely. And being able to lean on, even if you don't know your coworkers that well, if that's who you have to lean on them. If they're offering you to lean on them, take it.
Yes.
Even if it's just, hey, this is why I'm not okay. I don't want to go into details. And I'm saying, okay. And just having that person to talk to. One of my coworkers was like, you look like you need a hug as I had mascara pouring down my face. And I was like, yes, but please don't because I will start crying again. Like, having coworkers like that and even just people around you like that, and even if it's just, hey, I'm not okay, I don't want to talk about it, and then being like, hey, do you need a hug or like do you want to talk about it is so important.
Right.
But you're not going to know that you have that until you cross that bridge and say, hey, I'm not okay.
Exactly. You're totally right about that. And like you said, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to say that you're not okay.
Absolutely. I am very, very grateful that where I work now has a very, very positive view and knowledge and light around mental health. My chief actually created a peer support group that meets once a month. And, it could not even have to be anything about work. It could be, you could show, mind you, uniforms off, badges off. This is what happens in these meetings stays in these meetings.
Mhm.
And it could be as, oh, I'm having trouble paying this bill this month, or I'm having trouble with this. It doesn't have to be that you're struggling with mental health. It's anything and everything. And, like I said, the 2 times that I've had an issue with my mental health, I've been nothing but supported. And I know that not every department is that lucky. Not every person is that lucky to experience that. And that's unfortunate because mental health plays such a big factor in us being able to perform our jobs.
Right.
And it's, we take care of people, but we need to take care of ourselves first.
Amen.
Because if we're not taking care of ourselves and we're not at the performance level that we want to be at, how are we going to be able to provide adequate patient care?
Yeah.
How are you going to be, in the right headspace to go interior of a building fire if you're mentally not and emotionally not in the job?
Right.
You can't safely do that. That's how mistakes get made. Taking care of your people, your employees, your coworkers, yourself when it comes to mental health is so important because of the job that we do.
Right.
And that is a hill that I will die on.
So here's a question. Now, I already know the answer to this question, but I want you to tell it to the viewers. If you had two choices, would you rather go in a burning building with a partner that has mental health issues and is seeking help, or with a partner that has mental health issues and is showing the bravado that they don't need help?
A partner that is getting help for their mental health issues because they have been going to therapy. They know how to cope with it. They've started coping with it. They've started the healing process because the first part of the healing process is recognizing that you're not okay. They're going to be in a better headspace than the person who hasn't started coping with why they're not okay and can't even say that they're not okay. If you can't say that you're not okay, you're not healing. You're bottling everything up and you're not actually realizing of, no, I'm really not okay. I need to do something about this. And that doesn't mean you need to go out and talk, get a therapist. It doesn't mean that you need to go out and get on meds. Personally, I will never ever 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 be on meds ever again. I hated the way that they made me feel. I hate taking meds in general, but I will not take any anxiety, depression, insomnia related meds ever again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean saying you're not okay doesn't mean that you get put on meds. It doesn't mean that you need a therapist. It's not a negative thing. It's, hey, I'm going through this. I need to start coping with it, dealing with it, healing from it, and getting in the proper headspace to be able to do my job.
Exactly. Well, you basically had the answer to the question. I mean, I already knew the answer, but I just wanted to hear it from your perspective, so the audience can hear the answer to that question. Because a lot of the times, in your profession, especially with law enforcement and stuff, um, there's that male bravado and that saying, a lot of first responders are veterans from the military and stuff. And so they're like, well, I'm tough, I can handle it. So when you're in that state of mind, you don't feel like you need the help, or you're refusing the help because you're supposed to be strong, it makes it dangerous.
Absolutely. Having this assumption of I'm supposed to be okay, or it's not okay to not be okay, or, oh, I can handle this is so detrimental because it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to say, I don't know how to handle this, or, oh, it's okay to have the thought of, oh, I'm supposed to be stronger than this. And that's normal. But what's not normal is not coming to terms with the fact and not recognizing that you're not okay
Mhm.
and not coping with whatever's going on.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. So for everybody's listening, it's okay not to be okay. And when you're
And
feeling not okay,
my Instagram, my
yeah.
TikTok DMs, always open. If you just need to talk to someone about something, message me.
So what's your Instagram handle?
So my Instagram is it's the same as my TikTok, but it's amazing.7, and then my TikTok is just amazing underscore.
Amazing underscore. Okay. Yeah. So anybody listening, pay attention and follow her on Instagram and TikTok. And if you need to reach out for help, please do so.
Even
Because
sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger than it is to talk to someone you know.
absolutely, absolutely. So we had actually started a hotline, and it's posted on our TikTok, and the hotline number actually is routed to my personal phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so when anybody has a problem or an issue, if they want to talk, they can always call that number, and I'll pick up my phone. But unfortunately, there's only a time frame, like from 7 in the morning until 9 in the evening, because I have to get sleep because I drive truck. So
Yeah,
I don't want to
that's
fall asleep
awesome
on the
though.
road. But there,
And
I'm available through those times. And if
even
I
just
miss your call, I'll get it back.
even just knowing that someone's available on that side of the phone to tell you that, stereotypical of, oh, it'll be okay, or oh, it's okay, sometimes is enough for someone to realize, like, I will be okay.
Yeah. Or, if you just want to, talk. We don't monitor the calls.
Mhm.
We don't get paid for the calls. We don't track them. We're just there to listen.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. I'm not a psychologist. Not a therapist or anything like that. I'm just somebody that cares and that's willing to listen.
It's little things like that that help change the view and the stigma around mental health and first response and military as well.
Exactly.
And
That's
that's
kind of what we're doing.
we've made a lot of progress on that, but there is still a lot more progress to be made.
Yes. A lot more. And we're working on it, and we're building a community, especially with the podcasts, with our guests. We're building our community bigger. We're getting the word out there more for people to hear. And we're trying to break that stigma, the mental health stigma, And like you say, it's okay not to be okay. And that's what we want people to know so that we can affect change in that way.
Absolutely. And it's little things like this that help change that and people realizing it's okay.
Right.
Like, and it's going to take time. This is years and years and years, like decades upon decades of having this negative stigma around it. It's going to take a while to break. It
Yeah.
takes a longer time to break a habit than it does to create one. And, the fire side of things, tradition based. They hate change. It's evident in so many factors and so many parts of the career, but this is a change that needs to occur and needs to happen. And thankfully, a lot of departments, a lot of EMS agencies, fire departments, law enforcement is receptive to this change and puts the better foot forward when it comes to mental health.
Right. Exactly. We talked to a lot of officers and some other first responders, firefighters, and stuff. And it always depends on the department itself whether they support the mental health or if they don't. Um,
Absolutely.
Captain Adam Myers, his department, he's a captain in the department after his traumatic incident. His chief supports everything he does. Uh, and then we talked to another individual whose episode just come out, and he's a firefighter, and his chief always calls him even when he's on his days off and asking him if he's okay, just checking in on him. Hey man, here you go. Are you good? You okay?
Yeah.
No.
It's the little things like that that are so important.
Yeah.
And, even if you don't believe the person's not okay, some people may want to push it. Don't push them
Right.
because they it has to be on them and on their own time for them coming to terms with them not being okay. All you're going to do is aggravate them and piss them off,
Yeah.
and they're not going to want to come to you. They're not going to see it as this safe space to be open and vulnerable to you. And some people may not recognize that they're not okay until they actually are really like, damn.
Until it hits them with the sledgehammer, and it's
Absolutely.
some people are wired that way. You know, Uh, trust me, I know.
And you got mad at me for being stubborn.
Trust me, I'm probably one of the most stubbornest people in the world, and like when dealing with my personal traumas, it hit me with a sledgehammer, and
It
it took
does.
40 something years for me to finally just admit that I was not okay.
I mean, you finally admitted it though, and you came to terms with it and started coping and healing with it. That's what
Yep,
matters.
exactly, exactly, and I'm glad I did,
I am too.
because it's better for your own mental health. It's better for any relationships that you build and friendships and all that stuff, because you can be more open and honest and vulnerable and trusting with people, you know.
Absolutely.
So fortunately, I had a job that was understanding, because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have a job.
That is always a very, very good thing and a very
Yeah,
positive thing. Not everyone is that lucky, which is the unfortunate piece of it. But mental health, not just even in first response, along the board, no matter what you do for work, you know, in general, mental health has come a long way. And it's something that more people need to prioritize.
exactly. That's for
Because
sure.
even if you're not a first responder, say you're a grocery clerk, you're checking people out. If you're not in the right headspace as you're checking them out, are you giving them attitude? Probably. Are you being short and snappy? Possibly.
Yeah,
So even things like that, if you're not in the right headspace, you can't do the best of your ability, and you won't be feeling your best, and that is so important.
exactly. Yeah, the headspace and being healthy is very important, especially for our first responders. Because if you're not
Absolutely.
healthy, how can you help anybody else be healthy?
I did a research paper and back when I was a freshman for one of my psych classes, and I was always proud of my closing remark. And it's first responders have done enough to help us. It's time for us to help them.
Hmm.
Strictly relating to mental health.
Right.
Because unfortunately, the numbers of suicide without among any part of first response are growing.
Yes.
The only way to stop that is to change the stigma and for people to realize that it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Even one is too many.
I totally agree with that. And that's kind of what we're here, and that's what we're doing, and that's part of our mission.
Absolutely.
That's why we talk to people like you and other first responders, so that we get those messages out there and everybody knows that they're not alone, and it's okay not
Absolutely.
to be okay. And there's
You-
always somebody there to reach out, you know?
Everyone has their story. Everyone pretty much has their own trauma that they've gone through. And the other big thing to remember is you are not your trauma.
Right.
Your trauma doesn't define you. Does it help you? Does it shape the person you become? Absolutely. Use it to your advantage.
Hmm.
Become the best version of yourself that you absolutely can. But you are not your trauma. You are
Exactly.
not what someone else did to you. You are not what you've gone through. It has only made you a stronger and better person.
Right. You're 100% right on that. And I just hope that that's food for thought for those who are listening and can take that away from this as a lesson, is that
If
you are not your trauma.
besides, it's okay to not be okay. It's absolutely, you are not your trauma.
Right.
Your trauma is not what defines you as a person, as a human being.
Nope. only your future defines who you are, and you
Abs-
can make that future any way you want it,
Absolutely.
just like
You
you.
can you
You
can go
made your
after
future.
anything you want, regardless of what your trauma is.
Exactly. And look at what we have here. We have Maisi here. She took a bad situation and she's turned it out to be something good. And she's helping people and she's helping her own mental health situation. And she is out there putting herself on the line to help her community. And not only just help her community, but help other first responders with their mental health.
Absolutely.
Or else there would be no reason for her to want to come on to the podcast.
That's
That's
fair.
fair. I mean, 'cause that's what we're based on. We're just based on helping first responders and getting the stories out.
You know,
Uh,
even just sitting here and talking about even some of the things that I have not talked about with anyone else is healing in a way that nobody really thinks it is. But being able to openly talk about what's happened to you
mhm,
is so healing and is so underrated. But just sitting and talking about it and being like, yep, you know, subconsciously it's making go like, yep, I went through that, but guess what? I got past it. I got through it.
right,
I healed from it, or I am healing from it.
yeah, and there was growth behind it,
Absolutely.
and it made you stronger because the weight has been lifted. It's gone, or it's lifting. You know,
In an interesting way, I think some of the things that I've gone through and dealt with have made me a better provider,
yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah. Far often we do hear that like first responders, we've heard officers and firefighters and stuff. Any kind of provider, they always say that they've gone through childhood traumas that have made them better providers.
It's amazing to me, you know, going back to that research, that there's not enough research into the connection between first responders and childhood trauma.
Mhm.
But it's like anyone you talk to that is in first response has some form of childhood trauma,
Yeah,
which also highlights as to why it's even more important to prioritize your mental health, because you're already predisposed to all of these psychological disorders and the job is naturally traumatizing. And
exactly.
it's not, you know, oh, you signed up for this. It's like, I signed up to do a job. I didn't sign up for the trauma and the negative impacts that the job has on me.
Yeah,
Was I aware of them? Absolutely. Is anyone aware of them? Absolutely. But you don't sign up for the trauma that comes with the job. And
right,
it's okay to have that and to witness it and to deal with it and to cope with it and say, I'm not okay, and to get help if needed.
right. You didn't sign up to be enslaved to the mental health aspect of it.
Absolutely.
So, in your resilience and purpose, how do you stay grounded and take care of your mental health today?
I think there's a few ways that I personally go about it. Like I said, journaling's a huge thing for me. That's how I get a lot of what either I'm not brave enough to say to someone out or brave enough to talk to someone about, or just things that are in my head that I need to get out.
Mhm.
Journaling has been a very good way to keep me grounded. Um, but I think also having the support system that I do, being able to talk to them without judgment, but also having my hobbies. You know, I ride horses. I'm into photography. You know, this is going to sound so stupid, but I just bought a new car and I absolutely love my car, and going on drives with the top off and the windows down is so healing
Yes.
and is almost freeing in a way that I didn't even know it was going to be.
The
Um,
wind in your hair.
but you know, being able to have these hobbies and do things that I enjoy, even when maybe I am struggling mentally and emotionally, is healing. It's helping and it's coping with what's going on. You know, a lot of the times I used to go trail riding with just me and my horse when I wasn't okay. Or I would go just sit on his back in the field, or just go lay with him because he used to be um that type of horse that you could lay with. I used to lay with him all the time. Um,
Oh,
the bond I had with him is, I would go sit in his stall when I wasn't okay, and he would nuzzle me. He'd like nibble at me, like he would try to get me to laugh or stop crying.
right.
But having those hobbies and being able to freely do those hobbies is a huge thing too. Because if you just sit at home and wallow in whatever's going on, you don't have that outlet to get things out, even if you don't want to talk about it. Having
Right.
that outlet to be able to get things out is so helpful. And on the flip side of it is, being healthy in general as a person. And I'm not saying, no, you have to hit the gym all the time, but eating healthy, even in your eating habits and being able to prioritize your health in general. Part of why I've been so MIA on TikTok, besides my, on any and all social media actually, isn't just the struggles I had with my autoimmune disease and other things going on, but I was having a lot of gut issues. Turns out I am allergic to some enzyme that's in dairy products and I can't have gluten anymore.
Oh,
But like if you don't prioritize your health and figure out what's going on, you can't freely go and do those outlets and those things for you to get to somehow have an outlet for how you're feeling. And that's also arguably just as important to help you stay grounded.
exactly. Hobbies are essential, a way to get your mind occupied and off of your daily routine. Um, you
You
know how
know,
long
I,
it's been since I've been on the horse? Since I was like 11 or 12.
I grew up with horses because of my grandparents. I had a
Yeah,
horse before I came out of the womb because my grandmother wanted a grandchild that was into horses.
I love horses. I do. They're beautiful creatures. And, well, it's been so many years. I remember going to Stockton, California and riding at the ranch. My stepfather, uh, his family had a ranch, and we used to go ride horses there. It was just
I
amazing.
I love it. I haven't my so the horse that I had is no longer with us. Um, I do have a mini still, so my horse is at my grandparents'. And when I say mini, there's dogs bigger than him. I rescued him myself. I rehabbed him myself. That was my senior project in high school. But I haven't been able to go to my grandparents because of everything that's going on. So like I've had to find other outlets in my other hobbies. It's been kind of challenging, but I've still been able to find that outlet and recognize I need that outlet.
Right,
Because I will say this, talking about it only does so much. Yes, talking about it is such a positive and good thing, but talking about it can only do so much. If you need
right.
to get all those feelings and everything out, find a hobby, put everything into it. I'm not saying go be a gym rat, but sometimes hitting the gym or even going for a run is also therapeutic because
Release.
it's a way for you to get all that anger and that frustration and those emotions out in a very healthy way.
Right. Releases the endorphins, makes you feel better. And yeah, it does release a lot of anger and frustration.
Absolutely.
That's why I got into boxing when I was young.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was fun. Uh, so do you have any favorite types of calls or runs that you've been on?
I am a huge trauma junkie.
Okay.
I love this, and I don't know how to like every time I say this, it sounds bad. I love trauma. I love running trauma calls. I don't love the fact that it's happened to the person. Absolutely not. It's
Right.
scary. It's sad. It's not good. But I love trauma and I love the critical thinking and the fast pace of it and having to think on your toes and challenging your critical thinking like that and what you know and leaning back on your knowledge. I love running traumas. It is by far my favorite call to run.
Right. So what's one of the weirdest that you've ever seen on a shift?
Weirdest call or weirdest thing in general?
Weirdest thing or weirdest call?
So my fire department uses some type of heating system and I don't remember the name of it, but it's foam essentially.
Okay.
And this is back when I was full time, so it's probably like a year ago. It might have been last winter. And my partner and I were smelling something really chemically. We're like, this is weird. So, it was just him and I in the building. So we, split up, try to figure out where it's coming from. We go up to the mezzanine level in our station, and the heating system exploded.
Ooh.
There was 4 inches of hard foam covering the whole mezzanine level of our fire department.
Oh, wow.
It looked like it essentially snowed inside the building just on this mezzanine level. And I think it was just probably the weirdest thing that I've seen, just because I didn't expect to get off the elevator and be like, what the
What?
hell? What is this? And like even my shift partner, who was my captain at the time, even was like, what the fuck? Like, what is that? He even had no idea. It was just so weird and so off. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. It was just such an odd thing to happen.
Right.
And the fact that it literally looked like it was hard, stiff foam because it had dried. So this definitely happened earlier in the day. But like getting out of the elevator and you're like, why does it look like there's inches of snow in here? It's just so weird.
But it didn't crunch like snow.
I don't even want to know how they reinstalled the new one because it's gotta be like a 8 foot or 10 foot by 10 foot box. Doors aren't that big. The elevator certainly is not that big. I don't know how they did it, and I don't want to know. I don't want to ask questions, but it is fixed. It got fixed. They had to order a whole new heating system.
Oh my gosh. That was expensive, I imagine.
Probably. Probably.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to a younger version of yourself?
Being stereotypical, I think just saying it gets better.
Okay.
I think because of how much I struggled and how much I went through as a younger person, especially in my childhood growing up. And, especially thinking, during my formative years, my mother's gonna be killed.
Okay.
And struggling with that and dealing with that for years and years and years. Even once I got into high school, when, before she could officially get away from him, I think if someone would have just said, hold on, it gets better, would have, granted, would I have believed it? Probably not. Hindsight's 2020, but I think if I could go back and say that to younger me, I think it would have and hold so much meaning.
Yeah,
Like it gets better. Hold on, I promise type of thing.
it does, especially with your tenacity and your intestinal fortitude that you have. Life does get better. You obviously, as a younger self, wouldn't see it at that time, but you definitely fought through the struggle and came out the other end victorious.
Absolutely.
And that's very um, inspiring.
Thank you.
And I hope that other our listeners are inspired by this too.
I hope so too, even if it just helps one person.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, I'm sure it'll help multiple people,
Oh,
especially you know the women in fire departments or EMS that are smaller in stature and are struggling like you had.
that's the goal, even if it just helps one person.
Yeah, that it will. Uh, so I want you to finish this sentence. I do this work because.
It gives me purpose. I feel like I have a purpose in life, and that is to do the job that I do.
You obviously love your job.
I adore my job. I would not change anything about my job in the world, and I would not give it up for anything. I think if I was told that I couldn't do my job anymore, I would probably want to curl up in a hole. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I
about that.
adore my job.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, we definitely need first responders to be in a position where they love their job because they love it to help people and they want to be there and
And
not just be there for collecting a paycheck.
I think, EMS that, most EMS places don't pay well. Most fire departments don't pay well. I think those of us that are in it, the passion that we have for the job is what keeps us going
Hmm.
because ultimately we don't get a great paycheck. We make jokes about it all the time.
Yeah,
But the reality is we keep doing the job because we have a passion for it. Not because, oh, we're making so much money, because the reality is most of us don't.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
that's
I've heard that you guys don't make very good, and I thought maybe you guys had maybe better departments do. I don't know how that works, but
so. I will say this, when I was full-time fire, so when I say I left because I wasn't making a livable wage, I was only bringing home $1,200 biweekly.
oh,
Biweekly, which is,
wow,
yeah, which is unlivable for anyone.
wow,
Yeah.
holy crap!
Granted, that has since changed. Most places do pay better than that.
Mhm.
But that is why I left my full-time fire department, is because I was not making a livable wage.
Wow,
And, some departments are better than that, some are not. Most departments up here have gotten a lot better over the last few years, and do pay livable wages. Especially, I don't know if this is like a nationwide thing, but up here, they do something called COLA raises, their cost of living adjustment raises every
right,
year.
right,
So as the cost of living goes up, our wage gets adjusted.
right. I know the company I used to work for, Menards, when the cost of living would go up, they would raise their rates. They would raise the wages for
Yeah.
people. Um, I'd worked there for like 4.5 years, and I probably had like five different raises, and they were like anywhere from 50 cents to $1, $2 was
My
raised.
old my old volunteer fire department, it was paid on call. So we would get paid by the hour while on a call. Even they did a COLA adjustment
Hmm.
every year.
Right,
So even, volunteer fire departments that pay out like that are realizing, hey, this isn't doable. Which, is something that a lot of us are grateful for. Um, but certainly we're not making bank. We're
right,
not bringing home, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mostly most people, anywhere between 50 and 70K. Like it's, 70K is great,
mhm,
but when you have a life to live, especially if you have kids,
yeah,
it's not a whole lot.
right,
We don't do this job because of the pay, and I think anyone will say that and agree with me.
yeah. That's true. I mean, I I used to drive for Ruan, and I was bringing in anywhere from 13 to 1400 a week, but I was working 5 12-hour days
Yeah,
from
this
three.
was even with overtime because we used to get mandated
Yeah.
a lot. It was almost like working overtime screwed us more on taxes. So that was the huge thing, was taxes, but the wages that we had weren't keeping up with state tax, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yes, because they were taking more amount, and
Yes.
so you're bringing in less money the more you worked.
Essentially, yeah. It was so backwards.
Oh my god, that is insane.
It so backwards. Thankfully,
Yeah,
they've gotten a lot better. They renegotiated contracts and stuff like that. But yeah,
yeah. They definitely need to take care of you better than what they are.
yeah. You can, and I don't think it's just because of the schedule, but like the majority of the people that I know that are in this have second, third jobs. Technically, I have three jobs. I'm an EMS adjunct instructor, and I still do per diem fire EMS stuff.
Right.
Plus my full time job. Almost every one of us has at least one job on the side. It's a toss up between if we want to or if we need it because of the pay. But it's nice because 9 times out of 10, our schedule allows us to be able to do that.
Right. I'm
There's
there with you.
no other job like it where you get, to work 24, 36, 48 hours and then have the rest of the week off.
Right.
Work your day and a half, your 2 days, pick up as much overtime as you want, or, as little or not at all, and like work 2 days and have the rest of the week off.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't get that kind of time off, but if I need time off, I could take it. But we have to work other jobs
Yeah.
to make extra income. And right now, Brianna and I are working on a different course to make money with, and it deals with transitioning from trauma and stuff like that, and trying to help people with their mental health issues, and um, just a bunch of different topics. And we're not licensed psychologists or anything like that. These are just learned life experiences and
Yeah.
how we had overcome the struggles that we've gone through.
That's awesome. I love that. And
And
sometimes, like, it doesn't need to be, obviously, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or anything by any means, but sometimes being able to talk to someone who's been through the same thing or is in the same field as you or has an understanding of the job or what have you is more beneficial than a therapist, arguably.
right, because you're on the same level and you understand the people, and there's no looking down at their nose at you or trying to diagnose you. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that it's easier for people to have common ground
Absolutely.
when you're
And,
on the same level.
I'm not going to lie, like, I've been looking for a therapist, but the issue I'm running into is trying to find one that is trauma informed, but also has some type of knowledge in first responders.
Right.
And I'm hitting a wall.
Yeah.
But that's another can of worms.
Well, I mean, you can always reach out to Dan at healingthehero.org. He was a military veteran, and also he was a sheriff's deputy, and he runs a free organization that does helps first responders with their uh, therapy and stuff like that.
I didn't know that. I hadn't heard of that. I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization, so they only get paid through donations. Uh, so now would be a good time to get in because they're doing studies and they're trying to get their
Hmm.
proof on how they do their therapy and get their studies done so that they can have factual basis on their information.
I'll definitely have to look into that.
Yeah, it's
I
called
think part of I think part of the issue is here too is that we're just so small up here and so
yeah,
concentrated that there's only like you're only going to find so much.
right. Yeah, so you can contact healingthehero.org, and his name is Dan. Um, Great guy, and he can do a Zoom call like you and I, because I've been doing treatments with him too, and I got one more to do, and it's helped me tremendously.
I will definitely look into it. I had my iPad right there, so I just typed it in so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, I probably will.
right. And he's also on our podcast too, so that's how. Yeah,
I figured.
yeah. He was on our podcast, and I decided, because of my mental health issues, to go and take part of his program. And then after we were done, we were going to come back and talk about it and the differences between night and day so far. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's really cool, actually.
it's kind of unconventional, but it definitely helps.
Sometimes people need out of the box and unconventional. Not everyone's going to heal the same way.
Right. Exactly. And you might find that it works for you. You don't know. I mean, that's another thing about our podcast is we're trying to build connections with other therapists and psychologists and people like that and organizations that can help.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I think
And
it's such a huge
that's
thing.
yeah, that's how we got in touch with Dan at healingthehero.org,
That's
and
awesome.
other first responders that have become therapists. But unfortunately, they can't teach or they can't be therapists outside of their state. So,
Yeah. That's why
so
like I feel like Zoom blurs that line.
yeah, it probably does.
I guess that's one positive that came out of COVID.
Yeah, the Zoom. Yeah,
For a lot of
COVID
things.
keeps people at the house, so you can't really.
Yeah. COVID sucked, but it gave us a lot of, hey, you can do this online too.
Right,
Sometimes you just don't want to leave the house.
right. You know, what's weird is during COVID, at the height of COVID, actually at the beginning, at the height of it, and even towards the end of it, I did not stop working, and I was in just about every hot spot there could be. I was in Chicago, I was in Cleveland, I was in Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, all the major cities, and I never really got sick.
I never stopped working. While I was in the middle of my EMT course, I was actually working in a grocery store. Um, and then, so before COVID was COVID, that January, my family and I and a bunch of family friends went on a cruise. We all got sick. We've never gotten this sick before from a cruise. And one of the family friends went home and he was sick for like 6 to 8 weeks. He was sick for a long time, tested negative for everything. And they're just like, oh, yeah, upper respiratory infection, which is what they were saying early COVID was.
Hmm.
So we're pretty sure that all of us got it on that cruise and just had no idea what it was. And then exactly a year to the day, when I was in the middle of my EMT course, I tested positive for COVID again.
Wow.
And then I actually had COVID. I had COVID again last September, last July. I had it last summer from work. But the second time, like the first official time I had COVID, possibly the second time, I actually lost almost all of my hair.
Oh,
I ended up pretty sick. And I guess, my doctor ran all these blood tests because of my autoimmune disease to make sure it wasn't autoimmune related. There is a stress response, and I'm not even going to lie, I can't pronounce the name of this stress response to save my life. So I'm not even going to attempt to because I butcher it.
yeah.
It shuts down your hair follicles, so you just shed. And any major illness can cause this. Mine just happened to be COVID. So the amount of stress that having COVID put on my body legitimately caused my hair follicles to shut down and I started shedding my hair really, really badly. Like I
Oh,
lost
okay.
over half of my head of hair. I like ended up having to cut it down to here because like from here down was all super thin. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's come back, and you look
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes.
Looks amazing.
Thankfully, I probably would have cried if it didn't.
Yeah, it's grown back in full. It looks really full, so that's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, COVID was wild. That's and like it's you hear people talking about how it affected their schooling, but like I was in that age where like yes I was an adult, but I was still a super young adult working
Yeah,
in a grocery store, also getting into EMS and fire at the time. It was just a wild experience.
right.
And
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite memories actually from my EMT course was so one of my preceptors was one of my instructors, and it was actually him and I that got COVID at the same time from the same patient. So we were out the same amount of time because of this. And when I came back, I was doing more ride time, more clinical time with him. And we're in this backwoods hospital in the ambulance bay, and we're just yelling at each other, calling each other a germ because we were having this fight of who gave who COVID,
Right.
calling each other germs. And there's an ER nurse that walks out and goes, "Is everything okay in here?" And we just look at each other and start laughing our asses off like uncontrollably because meanwhile we're literally just fighting over who gave who COVID.
Oh man, that would have been funny to see.
I genuinely want to know what was going through this nurse's head when she heard this. Like, because when she came around the corner and like popped her head in, our voices were raised. We were just being loud and stupid.
Right.
And I was like, no, you're a fucking germ. And I can only imagine.
Yeah, the thoughts going through your head, like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Like, probably like a cross between of, oh my God, what's going on? And what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
the bleach guns were fun to use.
Uh-oh.
We definitely did not use those the way that they were supposed to be either. The state like gave I don't know if it was every fire department or exactly how they did it, but it wasn't bleach, it was some like cleaning sanitizing solution, and it literally looked like an automatic squirt gun.
Really?
Yes. And those were definitely not used appropriately by almost anyone. It's basically a glorified toy.
Yeah, just shooting at everybody.
Yes.
At least you were sanitary.
Yeah, at least we were all definitely sanitized. COVID was a wild, wild time.
Yeah, I imagine. Man, it sounds like fun.
You can't give a bunch of like gremlins a glorified toy.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen?
Because they are
Like,
going to use it for other purposes.
we truly never grew up. The toys just got more expensive and bigger.
Right. Get bigger.
Like,
That's for sure. Yeah, it sounds like something I would have done.
it was wild.
It's pretty awesome. Um, so that's pretty much all I have for you today. We definitely appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It was an honor to have you on here, and I'm glad you decided to come on and share your story. And hopefully, it helps other people to understand that it's okay not to be okay, and that they're not alone.
Thank you. I hope so too. That's the goal.
Yeah. And if you're struggling, reach out.
Just to someone. It doesn't even have to be either of our faces. Just someone. Because again,
Right.
it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's not okay is to not do something about it. That's not okay.
Yeah. Knowing you're not okay and not acting on it is not okay.
Exactly.
So that's all we have for you today. Hopefully, we can talk to you again and have you back on here and see where you're at in the future. And hopefully, you make that flight nurse or flight medic, whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to go after, you're going to get it.
The
You're going
end
to rock.
goal is to hold both my RN and my paramedic. But if I just become a flight paramedic, I won't be mad.
Right. Well, you know what? You're going to do it and you're going to kill
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that.
I know you are. You'll get
Thank
after it.
you.
You have the moxie.
Thank you.
All right, Maisi. It was good seeing you. Great talking with you again. And hopefully we'll get you back on here again and have another interview and see where you're at in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there and stay you and be positive and keep that wonderful smile going.
Thank you. You too.
All righty. You have a good night.
You too.
All right, everybody. That was Maisi. She is a fire and EMS, outstanding lady. She's been through obviously a lot of traumas, and unfortunately, that had to happen. But through the silver lining is that she had become a stronger person, and she did not allow that negative to drag her down. And that is very, very inspiring. And that should. Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.